Returning to Zhang Yi, outside the house, he slept in a tent at the gas station, and now he's going out for more exploration. With his excavator, he went to the city's military post, and by digging, he gained access to the military base. However, all the military supplies were taken. All he thought was that the military leaders, with all the equipment, are the ones who will try to take power from the surviving society. If that's the case, he should arm himself to protect himself even from these people. While digging for something else, he broke a wall of the camp. To our surprise, not everything was taken by the army. An absurd amount of weapons and ammunition in this place went straight to his loot storage. After so long away, he returned home on his snowmobile, and this time without bringing back food. The neighbors noticed he was without food, and immediately started complaining. Zhang Yi countered that even for a whole day this time, he couldn't find anything. But if they want, they can go back to having to go outside to find their food and not follow him anymore, and he calls them ungrateful. Zhang Yi realized that by not bringing back food for one day, they felt unfairly treated, because his work of defending the building wasn't being paid off. Even though he said the discussion was over, some of the residents approached, suggesting that he could take some of them next time to search, and that way, he could rest more. Not only Zhang Yi, but we didn't even notice this strange guy with a hand hidden behind his back. Zhang Yi made a hand gesture, and the next moment, the rebel took a hit to the head and fell to the ground. The others who were with him apologized, but Zhang Yi made it clear that there is no forgiveness. He shot everyone, and at least 4 of them went to sleep. The rest fled through the window. The noise caught the attention of Uncle Yu and Zhou Qi, who ran there worriedly. He simply said that they were traitors, and he responded with mercy. Uncle Yu simply said they were so comfortable they forgot their place. Zhang Yi then went home, as if what happened now didn't matter at all. Zhe Li stayed there, thinking that this mercy he mentioned is just to warn others. With no one questioning what happened, they go home while Zhang Yi thinks his cannon fodder is running out. In the comfortable home, Zhang Yi asked Zhou Qi if anything had happened while he was away. She recounted that Aunt Lin had gone crazy due to her grandson's death and attacked a mother, but that was already resolved. Additionally, someone from another building called Chen Lingyu wanted to discuss something with Zhang Yi, but she didn't say the specific details, just that she wanted to cooperate with him. Not knowing what this person could offer, Zhang Yi didn't care. He has everything he needs, and those people outside can only wait to die of cold and hunger. Curious if he was just going to ignore the woman's request, he asked for his information, and what Zhou Qi knows about this person is that Chen Lingyu owned a cosmetics company and now completely controls Building 9. The only surprise to Zhang Yi for this is how a woman had the power to take control of an entire building. Out of curiosity, Zhou Qi says he should talk to this woman, so he already had messages from her and the leader of another building on his phone. He went straight to Chen Ling to ask what she wanted. She wanted to speak by voice, and Zhang Yi immediately said he didn't have the patience to speak. It will be by text. On the other end of the line, Chen Ling only thought that this person who took down Building 26 has a snowmobile and a rifle is tough. She says they heard about him and know he has a snowmobile. He asks what they have to offer. Basically, there's 76 workers who can use his snowmobile to search for food too. In summary, she wants the snowmobile and for him to provide food for them beforehand, so they have the strength to search more with his snowmobile, and he should know that soon all the people in the neighborhood could turn against him, so it's smart to have allies. Discontented now, he asked what happens if he refuses. He had never seen beggars ask for food with threats. Chen Ling was calm and made it clear that currently, Zhang Yi is a target for all the neighboring buildings. It's only a matter of time before everyone unites to attack them all together if he doesn't cooperate. In this situation, he asked for time to think about it, hanging up the phone as he looked at the other buildings. He knew his home was impenetrable, but if everyone united, they could bring down his building in an extreme situation. While he was thinking of a way out, another person was calling him on the phone now. This time it was Li Jian, who also asked to cooperate. His building 18 had been pacified, and everyone cooperated with each other, distributing resources among themselves, and his focus is on maintaining people's humanity. He is willing to help Building 25 to enter into conflict with the others, and any service he has, in exchange for just a few supplies. Zhang Yi asked Zhou Qi what things are like in Building 18. Her information is that she indicated that Li Jian unified all the residents of the building after the apocalypse, but his resources for so many people wouldn't last long. He replied that he needed to think too. Soon he saw that several other people had messaged him. Zhang Yi went to Zhou Qi to show that he might have to kill them all. At this moment, the doctor's mind was that she made the right choice in joining Zhang Yi. This time he asked his girlfriend for advice, but the strange thing is that at the same time, he put the Jubilee on the line and asked what was better, to cooperate or to destroy them all. Then she couldn't even answer properly because she couldn't concentrate. You know what I mean. Sometime later, he asked her to cut a bulletproof vest for him to put on his legs. His plan now was as follows. In the group of residents of his building, he told them that the neighbors threatened him to hand over the snowmobile, or they will attack the building. If he does that, everyone in the building will have to go look for their own food from now on. Soon, everyone turned against and ready to follow Zhang Yi to go against the other buildings. It didn't take take long for Zhang Yi to be placed in a new group, with only the leaders of the neighboring buildings. There, they made it clear that if Zhang Yi refuses to follow all the terms, they will become public enemies of all the buildings. They made all the demands, letting everything happen as they wanted. He had the brilliant idea, decided to cooperate, and set up a meeting with all the leaders. His idea was to eliminate all the leaders. The rest of the residents, without leaders, won't be able to organize against him. With a meeting place set, he went down, arranged with his followers from the building, and to encourage everyone, he gave them quality food, saying they need to be strong and energized to defend their home. One of them asked if they could hope for peace. Zhang Yi says not only that, but if everything goes well, there won't be any more food problems for anyone here. Motivated, everyone is now idolizing their savior and willing to do anything for him. Exiting through the tunnel, and not through the windows, Zhang Yi and all the residents went to the designated place. Even from afar, he noticed something strange. There were so many people here, so he ordered Uncle Yu and the rest of the residents to come too, and he will stay behind hidden with his rifle. At the negotiation field, Uncle Yu and the residents stood in front of all the leaders of the neighboring buildings and their groups. One of ours said they didn't seem to want to negotiate. The other completes saying, they seem more like they want to destroy them. With so many of them attacking each other, they wouldn't stand a chance. However, Uncle Yu stated that their goal is to make Zhang Yi cooperate. Attacking us wouldn't help with that. The building owners of 26, 5, 21, 9 and 18 were confident Zhang Yi might be intimidating, but against so many people, he doesn't have the power to face them all. One of them says he doesn't see Zhang Yi, so he must be scared after seeing our numbers. The situation is totally in their favor. Tianfang shouts for him to show up soon for negotiation. Uncle Yu warns that the leader will only meet with the leaders, so they should come this way. Chen-Ling and the others disagree, and ask if they aren't afraid of death. Realizing how things were going, Zhang Yi called Uncle Yu, warning them to stay away from the other groups. Uncle Yu, clever as always, told them to wait a moment and had his group retreat. With this distance, Zhang Yi whistled to get everyone's attention. In the open field, nobody knew exactly where Zhang Yi was, nor where the grenade he threw into the midst of the other building groups came from. Behind the leaders, a massive explosion occurred, resulting in a hole where everyone nearby was obliterated. Uncle Yu put the phone on speaker behind the leaders and asked if they had any questions for him. Wang Cheng, in shock, asked why so much violence. Zhang Yi questioned over the phone why more than 1,000 people for a negotiation. Already heading back into his building, he said there were 5 minutes left until the appointed time. If they didn't agree to come talk to him at building 25, it was over. Chen-Ling spoke for everyone that they would accept it. Already in one of the apartments, Zhang Yi was content. With just one blast, more than 20 people were gone. This will convince him, and now he only has 20 of them left. Sometime later, all the leaders rushed up the stairs of the building to reach the designated place. As there are no elevators, they are all tired. He only asked if everyone was there, confirming that they were. The meeting began. The residents in the room calmly laid out their conditions as before, of how he should cooperate. Unsatisfied with this, he drew his Glock and placed it on the table. Instantly, everyone was shocked, so Zhang Yi said it was just bothering him on his waist. Continue. None of them wanted to ignore this, and said that if they flip, the others will join forces against him. Thus Zhang Yi took the lead in the discussion. First point, he doesn't agree with their demands. Providing food for so many people is impossible for him. The most he can give is 10 meals per day for each building. How they use them is up to them. Chen-Ling was indignant. This is too little. Only in her building, there are 76 people. Zhang Yi then made it clear. It's either this or war. With no way out, Tianfang took the lead, saying that Chen-Ling doesn't represent everyone. They want to accept, but it won't convince everyone to cooperate if they're left without food. Zhang Yi cocked his Glock, asking if this is really too little for them. Li Jiam, the most peaceful of all, took the lead, saying he wants to talk. It's always better than a shot to the head. At this point, Zhang Yi put his foot on the table, saying that food isn't infinite. Even if they search, they'll eventually run out. He pulled a bunch of seeds out of his pocket and threw them on the table. His point is, they should start planting food to be able to make their own food. Tianfang quickly questioned, what sense does it make to try to plant in the ice? Using his Glock, he pointed out, there's land under the snow, water won't be lacking. His condition is that all buildings must put their men to dig and plant every day, and in return he will give 10 meals to each building. Moreover, he can provide medicines, drinks, and cigarettes. Upon hearing cigarettes, the two smokers forgot everything and said they accept everything if they can take a drag. Zhang Yi took out a closed wallet from his magic pocket and gave it to them to try. While they smoke, he stands aside, asking if they agree. Every day they can get a box of cigarettes. Li Jiam wanted to say something, but the smokers stepped in front and said they accept everything he said. They just need to be able to smoke every day. The rest of the three leaders are yet to respond, intimidated by the person with the Glock in hand and who has already convinced two of the leaders. One of the leaders pressured the others to accept. The two are already on his side and now want to please him, as much as the others want to discuss better. The two don't give an opening. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi goes to the window and notices that the residents of the buildings are starting to move. His reaction then is to move his Glock to the leaders and ask, what's this? Wang Qian, who was already bought, affirmed that all the leaders are here. There's no reason for anyone to attack them. Li Jian then says that if they are attacking, it's on their own accord. Zhang Yi shouts for the others to come in. Everyone here in the room is trapped here. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi takes out his rifle, and somehow no one saw his magic happen. With his scope, he identifies who's leading the others into rebellion. With a perfect shot, the leaders were knocked out, one after the other. Zhang Yi knocked down everyone who was taking the lead. The leaders sitting in the room were terrified to hear what was happening. A few minutes later, and Zhang Yi was calm, saying the situation was resolved. resolved, asking if everyone is okay with the negotiation. Soon the two smokers said yes. The rest who didn't want to accept were forced to accept. The last was the honest Li Jin. Now that everyone agrees, tomorrow afternoon they will start. Leaving the room, he patted Li Qian's things and asked him to do a good job. Meanwhile, he will keep an eye on them. Leaving the building, all the leaders seemed nervous, so the residents were curious about what happened. Zhang Yi tells them how he controlled the situation, but had to make a deal to provide about 300 meals for them every day. Not content with this, because why should he give so much food? Zhang Yi uses this. According to him, if it weren't for this, they should fight against over 1,000 neighboring motors, which would certainly lead to many deaths here, and he could not accept that, so he resigned to so much food for their well-being. Now all the residents of Building 25 cried with so much emotion. Zhang Yi is the only one who could lead and take care of everyone so well. Everyone left, only Uncle Yu stayed there. The old man, embarrassed, says that things didn't happen as he imagined they would. Zhang Yi took Uncle to a more private place, and there told the truth. The plan was to eliminate the leaders of all the apartments at once, but only the 5 most influential leaders were sent, so the plan was postponed. If the 5 leaders had been knocked out, the others would take their place and be more motivated to destroy Building 25. Uncle Yu now, yes, understood why there wasn't so much destruction. Now it's because there will be later. He understood and was impressed at how his nephew is so good at calculating things. Now it's a matter of time. The other residents will weaken as the days go by working. 300 meals alone will make them destroy themselves from within, not fight for the little food they will receive. Zhang Yi made it clear to Uncle not to tell anyone about this. Returning to his luxury home, his wife was doing yoga. What a difficult life they have. After so much work, Jokir wanted to know how the negotiations went. His response was that in the next few days, all he has to do is this. He threw her on the bed and said she shouldn't leave the house for the next few days. Be prepared. After a hot night, the next day it was very cold outside, but still everyone was put to digging as promised. Their mission is to reach the ground 10 meters below the snow to plant. He just passed by to make sure everything was being done, then went far away to get his snowmobile. The other 2 leaders said they searched and couldn't find his snowmobile anywhere. Where could he hide it? Zhang Yi's goal today was to find a veterinary clinic. There he knew he could find the poison they use to euthanize animals that are beyond saving, he said. With this amount he has here, he could knock out 300 people since they won't be able to find treatment. He knows that when the time is right, he will use it. Returning home, he made sure to gather plenty of supplies for his building beforehand. Everyone was impressed at how much he got this time. With a phone call, he notified the other buildings to come pick up their share of the deal. The leaders sent 3 people from each building for this, perhaps out of fear of being ambushed. Little by little, the 30 neighboring buildings picked up their first day of meals, and everyone was happy to start seeing food. As he left, he heard the workers saying they were tired from today's hard work, but it was worth it. So without a plan, things are going well. Returning to his comfortable home, his abode was always tidy, and he had everything he needed there, even a hot shower every day. Meanwhile, in the other buildings, Wang Qian saw his subordinate arrive, and the first thing he checked was if there were cigarettes. Everyone behind him quickly expressed that they were suffocating and would die if they didn't get a smoke. Soon, everyone was relaxed, and only then did they think about food. He allowed everyone to start eating, but he didn't calm down until he was sure the food wasn't poisoned. His group was confident they had food, but the other workers in the building were waiting for their share, which never came. That night, the protagonist left his bath peacefully and heard the neighborhood arguments over food distribution while he and his wife were stuffing themselves. The next day, everyone was digging, and as the protagonist prepared for his daily round, he left a warning to be cautious due to the food shortages, causing disputes. After that, he went out on his snowmobile to find more food. After a few hours, he returned with even less food. Zhang Yi told everyone that the search for supplies outside was unpredictable and that they should be content with what they had. His plan was to further accelerate internal conflicts. That same day, the buildings reached the point of throwing residents out to have fewer mouths to feed. While many were falling into chaos, he was cozy at home, listening to music and preparing his equipment. The next day he saw the result. Dozens of people thrown out, with the buildings bearing the marks of the disputes. Some asked if they had to dig today too. Zhang Yi coldly walked among the bodies, saying that if they didn't want to end up like those people, then yes. Soon, everyone rushed to dig in the snow, which Zhang Yi observed. But Uncle Yu noted that few people had come to work today. Of course, sir, look how many people are down. Only Zhang Yi's team was here today, but tomorrow that would change. It was a message to all the neighborhood residents. Those who didn't work wouldn't get food or cigarettes. The next day, the number of people working was almost normal. Uncle Yu questioned why so many people had returned to work when they knew there wouldn't be enough food for everyone. Zhang Yi implied that they were here to get food anyway, and the bodies from the previous day were slowly disappearing. As he was leaving, Chen Ling approached him to talk. She was dirty and worried, wanting to discuss the current chaos. If things continued like this, with so little food, the residents would end up killing each other. She suggested that the two of them could think of a scientific way to solve the food problem for everyone. They could even consider expanding their territory. If they joined forces, they could create a kingdom in this end of the world. Zhang Yi's look turned malicious. He accused her of trying to deceive people to gain power, and said that because of how she operated, many in her building were dead. Her previous negotiation tactics wouldn't work with him. Zhang Yi pushed her away, saying that people like her die early and that she shouldn't count on him for anything. All that was left for her was to beg him to change his mind and make her his right-hand person. Strangely, despite everything, there were no casualties in Li Jian's building. Everyone was alive and working. Curious about how this this was possible. Zhang Yi went to Li Jian to ask how he managed to keep everyone alive and cooperating. The protagonist was insinuating that he was doing something to hide the truth. All the blocks were internally at war over food. Li Jian's response was simple. He said he hadn't hidden anything from his people, let them all know about the deal, and distributed the little food they received equally. Zhang Yi joked that the result of this was everyone starving equally, satisfied with knowing. He was about to leave, but Li Jian asked him to wait. He said that Zhang Yi could help his residents. Zhang Yi then suggested that with Li Jian's leadership skills, he could choose only the strongest from his group and have more food. Instead, Li Jian preferred to maintain his honesty and try to protect everyone. In the end, they would all starve together. He left poor Li Jian alone with doubts about whether it was right to think of oneself and abandon others to stay alive. Zhang Yi went to the two corrupt leaders who had no complaints about the food they were receiving. He told them that if they needed anything, they could ask him. In his shadow, one could see who our protagonist truly was. He sympathized with those taking advantage of others and belittled those trying to help everyone and be honest. Other building leaders approached the protagonist later, asking to have the benefits that Wang Qian and Tianfang had, only cigarettes. Everyone who was doing well with the little food that was coming wanted to have something to smoke too. He said that from tomorrow, everyone would be under his care too, and dismissed the men. Other neighbors questioned Zhang Yi, asking why they felt entitled to ask for more things. The protagonist left, saying that certain people could earn more than others, planting a sense of jealousy among the other residents too. Returning home, he lay on his sofa and said it was just a matter of time. Things were going as he had planned, and soon everyone would be lying in the snow like the others. Now he had to put the second part of his plan into action. Early the next day, he went in search of food. This time, he made sure to get plenty for everyone. With hunger spreading, he used the poison he had saved beforehand. The plan was going very well. Would the leaders not turn against him at some point? They shouldn't accept being dominated by one person. They must be plotting something. Although his absolute power of possessing various weapons made it impossible for them to go against him, Zhang Yi decided it was time to strike. Returning home with much more food than before, he asked his uncle Yu and the others to be there to protect him. This time, the leaders came to get their meals. The look of the leaders with whom he had more contact seemed strange. When it was the turn of Building 21, Zhang Yi turned his back to get the food and was surprised. They shouted to attack and drew their weapons. Shots rang out, and someone stepped forward to protect Zhang Yi. Caught off guard, it was the only person he trusted who stepped in front to save him from the shots. Soon, neighbors from other buildings approached to finish the job, confident that he was unarmed. One of them tried to hit him from behind. Not bothering to hide his skills, he simply pulled out a CS machine gun and started firing indiscriminately. No matter the absurd number of people, nothing could resist a nervous trigger finger. The group of traitors tried to run when they lost hope of toppling the protagonist, but even though many were running, they were all toppled with shots to the head. When the ammunition ran out, he pulled out 2 more pistols. Leaders Wang and Tianfang begged, saying they were not accomplices. However, forgiveness comes from God. The last one left was Chen Ling, and she said she really had nothing to do with it. And it might be true. She also revealed that she had a 13-year-old daughter to take care of. Without mercy, Zhang Yi shot her in the forehead. After taking down everyone, now perhaps with some real guilt, he said he was sorry, but he couldn't let the tigers return alive. Behind him, a sea of bodies. To the protagonist's surprise, someone was alive. Uncle Yu. He took an adrenaline injection from the warehouse, applying it to his chest. 2 people from Building 25 were hiding. He shouted for them to help, and they carried Uncle Yu to Zokir. On the way, Zilime saw her injured boyfriend and became worried. Why was he like this? What if he dies? How will she survive? The fact that the woman was only thinking about how she would lose her benefits made the protagonist angry, so much so that he told her to shut up and not worry. The woman's reaction changed. If old Yu doesn't survive, she won't be able to survive alone without protection. She says that if her love dies, he must take care of their child, because she will die too. Zhang Yi, not quite understanding why she was already jumping to conclusions that he won't survive. Does she perhaps want him not to survive? Zilime starts crying, screaming that no, her husband must live. Tired of hearing her, Zhang Yi goes after Uncle. In the woman's mind, Uncle Yu is her winning ticket to a good life, and she can't let him slip away. At the doorstep, he tells them all to go back to their homes, but the woman insists that her husband needs her by his side at this moment. Out of consideration for Uncle, who genuinely likes the woman, he thinks about it and lets her stay. As he opens the door to his house, the color of things even changes. The air is warm, and Zilime cries tears of joy. This is the place she has been dreaming of living in for so long. While Zhang Yi and Zokir bring Uncle inside, Zilime goes to the kitchen and helps herself to something to drink without asking permission, which surprises our couple. Soon the woman returns, all happy, asking if he has powdered milk, immediately arousing anger in Zhang Yi. She then says it's for the baby. Uncle Yu really likes the baby. The protagonist now makes it clear that the focus is on Uncle Yu. He goes to a different room in the house and retrieves a hospital stretcher from the dimensional warehouse. Zilime wonders if she just witnessed him perform a magic trick, but he ignores her, asking Zokir if she needs any additional equipment or medicines, anything necessary to save Uncle. Zokir removes Uncle's shirt. The bullet's location indicates internal organ damage. In these medical conditions, saving Uncle seems impossible. Upon hearing Zilime, he starts screaming and crying. Angry, he points at her, warning that if she interferes again, there will be serious consequences. She stops and says it's better for her to leave the room. In her mind, there's so much food and clean warm water here. Who would want to stay in this room just looking around? Realizing her intention, the protagonist protagonist steps in and makes it clear. She will stay here and help. She only entered because her presence is important to Uncle. She will only leave this room when Zhang Yi is finished. He leaves the women at home and rushes down to the first floor of the building, calling all the residents. They've been betrayed, and Uncle Yu might not survive. Now they must strike. Most neighbors are against it. The other buildings house over 1,000 people, and they are few. Zhang Yi points out that they should only watch outside. Anyone leaving the buildings will be attacked, and the rest inside, hiding within the buildings, he will take care of. Those who do not participate will be considered traitors, facing consequences similar to the dead bodies outside. There are warm clothes here for them. Soon the group arrives at the door of building 21. Residents on the upper floors realize that Zhang Yi is leading their residents. Some who knew Zhang Yi could wield weapons could only stand paralyzed with fear. Most only had melee weapons, and he could magically produce a machine gun and mow them all down. The brave ones are confident that they are safe in the building. Zhang Yi puts everyone to watch the exits and windows, and he enters building 21. Arriving in the lobby, he gathers a bunch of wood and clothes from his storage dimension, places them in the lobby, and then pours gasoline over everything, connecting all the wood and clothes with trails of gasoline. He then lights his lighter and, being all witty, says he'll be kind and help them warm up in this extreme cold. He throws the lighter into the gasoline, the flames quickly spread through the lobby, and he calmly leaves the scene. Smoke billowed up the floors through the building stairs. Everyone on the upper floors felt terror, screaming to open the windows, or they would suffocate with the smoke. However, many in their homes found that the extreme cold had frozen the windows. Without tools, they couldn't break them. The protagonist calmly exited building 21, pointing to the building behind him, now emitting smoke, and said, "The rest of you handle it now. Don't let anyone escape." As the flames grew, many couldn't bear the heat and chose to jump, landing in the snow below. Even if they didn't perish from burns, the fall shattered their spine. One woman had no pity for them as they crawled and caught fire. She simply buried her knife in them. Not even the men around her had such cold-bloodedness. The boyfriend, somewhat nervous, asked if she was okay. When the woman turned, she seemed like a sweet angel, saying that this was work. When anyone else fell and didn't die from the fall damage, she went there and helped the poor soul not suffer anymore. In a few minutes, the entire building 21 was eliminated. Afterwards, Zhang Yi led his people to building 26, led by Tianfang. The residents panicked upon seeing what happened to building 21. When they arrived, the residents shouted that they were not supporting Tianfang and were innocent. Laughing, Zhang Yi said it didn't matter. They were all going to burn. A little while later, this building also met the same fate, and along with it, 5 other buildings were heated against the cold. His thought was that it was enough for one night. He told the residents of another building not to worry. He knew who the truly innocent ones were, and they would be fine. Some saw hope and were happy, but many others shouted that he must be tired after burning down 5 buildings. Ignoring the shouts, he gave the order that it was enough for today. After enduring the cold for so long, his people said they would stay outside and warm themselves by the fire. Even the fuel for the fire was from there. Then, he went to the bodies of the 2 who were most loyal to him. It didn't make sense for him to betray them, because they had always been treated well. Curious as to why he took their cell phones to investigate, looking at the conversations, he understood why. After dealing with the buildings involved in the rebellion, Zhang Yi returned home to see Uncle Yu. The steady rhythm of the heart rate monitor indicated that Uncle Yu was out of danger. He happily said that Zhou Qi was indeed the best surgeon in the city. As they talked, Zali Mei approached, asking for something for her and her baby to eat. Looking disdainfully, he took out a packet of instant noodles from nowhere and threw it on the ground, saying he wouldn't let her starve, of course. But the woman didn't leave it at that and said that wasn't enough. In the kitchen, she saw there were eggs and chicken. At that moment, Zhang Yi almost exploded with anger. Even Zhou Qi was shocked by the woman's audacity. In the apocalypse, complaining about free food, the protagonist, irritated, said it was just instant noodles or she wouldn't eat anything. After that, he left with his girlfriend. They returned to the room. The tired Zhang Yi began to massage her legs. It started there and soon moved to her lips, then back to her legs. Zhou Qi recounted that Uncle Yu's recovery was unusual. During the surgery, his wounds began to heal rapidly. Hearing this, Zhang Yi had a sudden epiphany. He concluded that during the supernova explosion, a gamma ray wave passed through the earth and must have given powers to people under some condition. It could be that Uncle Yu had awakened some ability, like his dimensional storage ability. Accepting that was the case, he wondered why only he and now Uncle Yu were the only ones to awaken an ability. His idea was that the near-death state triggered it. He was dying at the hands of Fang Yuqing, and his power saved him, while Uncle Yu was dying from 3 shots, and his regeneration power saved him. Accepting that was the case, he told Zhou Qi to keep his uncle sedated from now on. He could only wake up at the right time. Zhang Yi went to the living room, and there was Sheila Mei looking for something to eat. He threw it in her face that he stored everything, so there's no use looking for anything. He also ordered her to go take care of Uncle Yu all the time and do whatever is necessary. Soon the woman obeyed and went to her husband's room. The next step was to go after another traitor, so he went up to the top floor of the building with a police shield in hand, shot the lock on the door, and kicked it open. Fang Yuqing ran towards him with a knife and hit the shield, losing the knife upon impact and falling backward. Zhang Yi remarked that it had been a long time since he'd seen the girl. Looking at her best friend on the table, he said he understood how someone as incompetent as her managed to stay alive. Lost in anger, madness, and other stupid feelings, she screamed. Why couldn't anyone kill him? It was Zhang Yi's fault. If he had been a loser like he always was, she would have accepted being with him. Zhang Yi didn't want to talk. He immediately hit her leg with a bat, breaking the bone. phone. Then dragging her by the hair, he said he should have done it a long time ago. The cynical girl yelled that no. Feng Yuqing regretted it, not her older brother Zhang Yi. The protagonist let her go from the top floor and watched her fall heavily into the snow, contentedly watching the young and innocent Feng Yuqing lying in the snow. The next morning, at his house, Zhang Yi went to check on Uncle Yu in the room. Unexpectedly, his recovery speed was several times faster than that of an ordinary person. In just one day, his bullet wound had healed. Zhang Yi asked Zhou Qi to monitor his condition until he fully recovered to be sure. She then administered a sedative injection to Uncle Yu, as usual. At that moment, Li Mei approached and asked Zhang Yi to go to her house to get her phone charger and the baby's diapers. He looked at Uncle Yu and remembered that people in a coma are said to hear everything said around them, so he was kind to the woman and said he would do it after he finished something urgent. Leaving the room, Zhang Yi said it was time to eliminate the opportunists. He went outside to set more buildings on fire while saying to himself that this was to eliminate potential threats. Zhu Hao, who had been beaten up before, realizing Zhang Yi was approaching, came forward and said he had valuable information for his older brother. Zhang Yi smiled, thinking he already had practically everything he needed. What else could be important? Big brother Zhang Yi, have you heard of Wang Simon, the richest man in the city? He built an underground shelter called the Doomsday with $200 million. Because Zhang Yi showed interest, Zhu Hao asked to talk in a place where no one could hear. They went to an apartment, and then Zhu Hao spilled the beans. He said that Wang Simon's shelter is in a luxury gated community. Zhang Yi then asked, so what? What's your reason for telling me this? Zhu Hao replied, the point is, there are infinite food supplies there. He wants to be Zhang Yi's helper to rob Wang Simon's underground shelter. The protagonist found this idea ridiculous. No matter what's inside, invading such a secure place isn't worth the risk for him. However, Zhu Hao argues that Wang Simon already knows about Zhang Yi and even contacted him to steal his snowmobile. This information only made Zhang Yi angry. He asked Zhu Hao how he wanted to die. Frightened, the guy shouted that he wouldn't plot anything against Zhang Yi and actually wanted to help him. To make things even clearer, the protagonist shot Zhu Hao next to his head and asked for a good reason to let him live. The guy said that the mansion has plenty of food and he wants to join Zhang Yi to ensure food for himself too. Furthermore, Zhu Hao was friends with Wang Simon, the spoiled rich kid who had everything one could want and still humiliated Zhu Hao in front of girls. He mainly wants to get revenge on Wang Simon. Zhang Yi is very interested in vengeance, so he gives him a chance. The protagonist asks if he knows about the security of the place, how many enemies there are, and similar things. Tell me now. Fearful, Zhu Hao says he will only give the details if they make a deal first. The protagonist smiles and says he'd prefer to crack his head open. Zhu Hao argues that he knows Zhang Yi has eliminated everyone who's no longer useful to him, so he won't say anything even under threat, since the outcome is the same. After these words, Zhang Yi says Zhu Hao is smart, so he will accept to negotiate. The guy is happy, but Zhang Yi says there are two conditions first. He needs him to help eliminate someone who has been bothering him every day. He takes Zhu Hao to an apartment and tells him there's a secret to share with him. The cunning protagonist takes out a briefcase and leaves the guy scared and confused about what it is, but he admits that joining Zhang Yi will at least ensure his survival, so any risk is worth it. The protagonist takes out a syringe and says he was a professional assassin, and that's how he survived until now. He says it's an assurance. This poison is very common and takes effect in a week. After they take over Wang Simon's shelter, he will give him an antidote. Zhang Yi applies everything and says they will eliminate someone today. Zhu Hao should wait at this person's house right away. When alone, Zhang Yi reveals that it was just saline solution. It was a strategy to reduce the chances of being betrayed. Returning home, he saw Li Mei with his uncle Yu. He went to the room to tell his uncle that he's happy, he's okay, and from now on, he will take care of the three of them as a family, and they will all live together here. It's a promise. Hearing this, Li Mei is very happy and says a promise is a promise. She hands over her baby and says she will bring her and the baby's things from home. Li Mei thinks that with the baby and Uncle Yu here, Zhang Yi wouldn't be able to lock her out and kick her out of here. With her baby and phone in hand, Zhang Yi notifies that she left and Zhu Hao should handle the problem. While the scoundrel plays with the baby, the mother went to open the door of her house, thinking she would never return here. Her surprise was that someone was inside the house. So frightened, the girl couldn't even try to defend herself. She was hit and then received several more attacks. Satisfied, Zhu Hao sent a message saying the trash was taken out. She really won't be going back to her place anymore, nor to Zhang Yi's house. At home, Zhang Yi tells his Uncle Yu that now he and his wife Li Mei will also live here, and it will be great. However, Uncle Yu, unlike his wife, says that this is too much. He shouldn't bother Zhang Yi that much. The baby starts crying, and not knowing how to fix it, Zhang Yi hands it over to Zhou Qi. You need to change the diapers. Figure it out, woman. Returning to the room, he went to talk to Uncle Yu again. The uncle says that she's taking too long, and he's worried. Zhang Yi tells Zhou Qi that he'll go look for Li Mei because she's taking too long. Zhang Yi went to his room to gear up, sent a message to his building group asking all neighbors to gather at apartment 1301. He will distribute rewards and food for everyone. He sends a voice message privately to Zhu Hao, telling him not to come if he wants to stay alive. After a while, everyone was happy. All the other buildings were eliminated, and now they can follow Zhang Yi and secure their food. Outside the apartment, basement, the protagonist hears that everyone is there. He doesn't enter, throws 2 grenades inside, and closes the door. Everyone was happy, and out of nowhere, 2 grenades appear. There wasn't even time to blink, and everything went up in flames. The door was completely destroyed. Zhang Yi, hoping he had protected himself with the shield, entered the room to check the chaos. Everything was in pieces. One of them who survived, angry, asks why. They all helped him so much. Why kill them? Without mercy, Zhang Yi says that he helped everyone survive, and now they owe their lives to him. He's just taking what's his. After erasing all the residents of his building, the protagonist says that now he has killed all his enemies from his past life, except for Chen Zhang, because of Zhou Qier. Back home, he goes to talk to Uncle Yu, and says that there's trouble. Their neighbors rebelled and eliminated Xie Li Mei. They were planning with leaders from other buildings to eliminate us. Zhang Yi says he took care of them, but some escaped. The uncle, crying, says it's his fault. Frustrated, he punches the bed and makes Zhang Yi think that his power, apart from healing, is super strength. He tells him to calm down. Zhang Yi says he's also to blame for this. This world is very cruel, but he'll get a new woman for him, and she'll be very attractive. Don't worry.
Subscribe for next episode.